Hello and welcome to the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, websites, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the bloodline, the historical lineage, the historical people known as today, that we call ourselves BADOS, which is Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, the today children, offsprings, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what my motto of the show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Well, did you hear this? We're going to go over to Virginia. Said better late than never. And in this case, we are in the month August of 2019. Matter of fact, today's date is August 13, 2019. Did you hear? Did you know that our president, Donald Trump, went to Jamestown and had an anniversary that you would have assumed when they talk about the 400 years, they would be talking about the tragedy, the history, the horrific history and of this land. They call it the sins of the country. We known as BADOS and ADOS. We would think that the country is trying to make some kind of amends about what took place. They said if somebody show you who they is, you better believe what they show you. Well, I'll do this here. Lay it out for you. And you tell me what it is that you see that took place here. Was it really an acknowledgement? Or was it kind of like, why I'm at it, why I just say this? Well, stay tuned as we look at what was said and look at the article, what it talked about. Stay tuned for this Black Minds News Report. Hey, how's y'all doing? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds. And welcome to Black Minds News. Today's date is August 13th, 2019. And first and foremost, before we get into it, first I want to say what's good to my fam, subscribers, old and new. What's good? Thank you for your participation. Thank you for being a participant of Black Minds News. We tip our hats and salute each and every one of you. Passerbys, if you should just happen to pass by, somehow your GPS on your search engine somehow made you come across and you seen the thumbnail or seen the name or the title, welcome to the most hated show on the black corner internet. Now, why we say we're the most hated show on the Black Corner Internet? Yes, we used to get 275,000 views, 50,000 views, 30,000 and so forth. Now, in 2019, after being in business for 7 years, we can't get 100 views. Yet, have almost 2,950 subscribers. Well, they said at least 670 or 80 of them at least have the notification, but somehow can't get 100, even with you passing by. So again, welcome to the most hated show on the Black Corner of the Internet. Go through the library, you may see some things that you might like. If you should happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way, remember that the motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now let's get into today's story. So again, they claim historically when they write, again, if you be knowing history, you know we've been here longer. But again, this is again from the encounters because they only getting here at a specific time and they're counting from their point forward, right? And once you understand the history. So, tell us that 1619 is the first time it's recorded that the 10-odd Negroes on a Dutch ship that had indentured servants. It is recorded of history of having slaves being brought to the United States. 13 colonies. And so, this day and of this 2020 campaign, in the beginning, you've seen that a term came out that has been sensationalized through the Black Corner of the Internet, saying ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves, and how they're trying to use this historical bloodline, lineage, and so forth to galvanize a bloc to have some power, political power, to say that again, that we want to participate in the political process, but we're not going to just fall for the chicken dinner anymore. And so people took it for a joke and they thought, we ain't trying to do over there. So what ended up happening is Kamala Harris came out, said some things, and found out it was real. Oh, they real over there. They asked me, am I black? Am I black from the... Wait a minute, I thought I was black. There's different categories of black. So she found out the hard way. The next one came out. Another one said, what is reparations? They talking about reparations. So now people are saying, I ain't for reparations. Elizabeth Warren and I'm for reparations. Andrew Yang, right? Man, it got real. People were losing the support they didn't get. Oh, wait a minute. What is this all about? Well, it just happens to be 1619, and we are now in 2019. We're in the month of August, which means 1619 plus 2019 gives you 400 years of a people who've been waiting on some promises you can't keep. Right? And so, when you see 400 years, people of the bloodline historical ties associate that number to themselves. Right? The people who built, create, blood, sweat, and tears seem to say 400 years and commemorate to me and my ancestry and what has been done and the continuous that has not been remedied, repaired, or restituted. Any way words you want to use. Feel like this is their time. Well, you would think that people who say that a nation, when you put people together, they will say, I'm not racist. I don't hate anybody. And again, when they do the polls show something entirely different. That they say 90% of these people here, and then you got these people here who shouldn't even have a word to say something, and then you got some people on the same side as supposed to be on the same uniform as them. They jump on the boat and say, I don't know what they talking about. We don't need no reparation, right? We got all kinds of people, right? So it seems like everybody don't really want to deal with that in its entirety. So when you think of Jamestown in Virginia in 1619, you would think that they're talking about the inception of what they're talking about, the 10-eyed Negroes in the beginning of this barbaric human trafficking of slavery. But that's not what it was about. And so let me go ahead and give you the article that came out of I think it's out of the Washington Post. And let me show you on your screen so you can see where I'm reading from. Right? And there you go on your screen there. And on your screen it says, Trump will speak at Jamestown event marking 400 years of representative government? You know I'm going to say that again. Trump will speak at Jamestown event marking 400 years of representative government? Now again, this is what they talking about. That's no really acknowledgement of you. They're talking about the establishment of which once we came here to set up the foundation and this secondary aspect, we're going to mention it. But let me show you how it goes. Let me give you the article first. Now we're talking about Richmond, Virginia. President Trump will speak before the General Assembly at Jamestown on Tuesday to help commemorate the 400-year anniversary of representative government in the United States, White House official confirmed Friday. Several Democratic lawmakers vowed to boycott any event attended by Trump when news broke last week that he had been invited to the ceremonies. Governor Ralph Northam signed onto a letter of invitation last year along with Republican leaders of the House of Delegates, and State Senate House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was also invited but had already declined. The state had been planning the Jamestown event for several years to mark the first time 20 burgesses chosen by colonists gathered on July 30th, 1619. That General Assembly met for 6 days and suggested a raft of laws that were sent back to England and approved by the Virginia Company, the investors who were bankrolling the colony. It was the beginning of democracy in the New World. Next month, the state also will mark the 400-year anniversary of the 1619 arrival of the first Africans in the colony, who were brought in chains and enslaved. Virginia had traditionally hosted president when it marked big anniversaries at Jamestown. Theodore Roosevelt attended the 300th anniversary of colony founding in 1907, and George W. Bush participated in the 400th in 2007. But Democrats said Trump's divisive policies on immigration, inflammatory statements about race, and recent proclamations that 4 congresswomen of color should go back to totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came made him unwelcome. Virginia House Minority Leader Eileen Filler Corn and State Senate Minority Leader Richard L. Soslaw joined other top Democrats last week in pledging to boycott the part of the ceremony that will feature Trump. Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney, a Democrat who is often touted as a future candidate for governor, resigned this week from committing overseeing the 400th anniversary event because of Trump's invitation. President who's labeled those who disagree with him as un-American and ignorantly advocates for duly elected congresswomen, all United States citizens of color to be sent back to their countries of origin has no place at this commemorative gathering in our Commonwealth this weekend, Stoney wrote in his resignation letter. The president is set to address a special commemorative session of the General Assembly in a tent at the Jamestown Settlement Park near Jamestown Island. Norton will speak earlier Tuesday morning at the event at Jamestown Island itself and was not slated to attend this legislative session. Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, only second African-American elected statewide in Virginia, said he would attend the session because Jamestown historical significance. Fairfax presided over the state senate in his role as lieutenant governor. Several other Democrats, including most members of the congressional delegation, also said they would attend. Now, that's the article coming out of the Washington Post. And again, as I said, now again, they're celebrating, the commemoration of the legislation body being set up 400 years ago. Yet they talked about 2007 Bush, again, the 400 year, because again, the foundation of, according to the Virginia Company, and those setting up the 13 colonies, 1607, right? Now, again, it's ironic that you're talking about this is government business. And again, we get that, right? We get that. So that, again, so I guess in some sense, somewhere down the line, somebody thought about this, right? We can't just have it specifically about that, because again, we're not trying to really deal with this, even though we're being forced to because of the time. It's 400 years. I really don't understand how they're saying back to Ghana, those who go into that trip, you here. You don't know how your people, our people, got here and where their origins of. Again, I'll just say that there was what they talk about, the Inquisitions were happening. Again, you never know where your people may have came from. 10 people on 10 odd Negroes on a boat on the Dutch. That was just them. They don't populate everybody, but somehow that is the way it's been equated, right? And so, again, not to be direct, you're kind of indirect dealing with the 400 years. And really, we're really commemorating about this institution of this legislative body. And second breath, we're going to talk about, in this here. About that, right? So the formality of it, again, to be able to not really have to really deal with it in its entirety. It should be having its own separate. I don't think there's nothing here that's going to actually deal with that. I think this here was the kind of, we dealt with it, right? You're going over to Ghana or Kenya, right? Is it Ghana? I think Ghana, but the year return. Why are they sending you away from here? You understand? Your 400 years is here. Ain't got nothing to do about where you left from, because we don't know where you left from. You don't know what. So we know from here, though, from 1619 being here, what they counting. Why are we not having dealing with the situation here? That's my whole thing. What's this all about, right? So let me show you what was said at the event, right? Let me go ahead and show you what was said at the event. And then let's come back from that, right? So let me go ahead, cue it up. Go ahead, play this. Ready to hit it? Let's get it.
As we mark the first representative legislature at Jamestown, our nation also reflects upon an anniversary from that same summer 4 centuries ago. In August 1619, the first enslaved Africans in the English colonies arrived in Virginia. It was the beginning of a barbaric trade in human lives. Today, in honor, we remember every sacred soul who suffered the horrors of slavery and the anguish of bondage. More than 150 years later, At America's founding, our Declaration of Independence recognized the immortal truth that all men are created equal. Yet it would ultimately take a civil war 85 years after that document was signed to abolish the evil of slavery. It would take more than another century for our nation, in the words of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., to live out the true meaning of its creed and extend the blessings of freedom to all Americans. In the face of grave oppression and grave injustice, African Americans have built, strengthened, inspired, uplifted, protected, defended, and sustained our nation from its very earliest days. Last year, I was privileged to sign the law establishing a commission to commemorate the arrival of the first Africans to the English colonies and the 400 years of African American history that have followed. That was an incredible day. That was an incredible event. Today, we are grateful to be joined by that commission's chairman, Dr. Joseph Green. Thank you, Dr. Green, please. Thank you.
All right. So, you heard what was just said there, right? So you see that President Trump said that they were reflecting upon, right, the same summer that they established the legislative bodies, the same summer that they was commemorating that the 10-eyed Negroes supposedly is coming to this country. Now, again, remember, the country is founded, according to what they count, is 1607. It's 1619. We're talking about 12 years later, right? Right? And as you heard that President Trump just said that 4 centuries ago. See, when you say 4 centuries ago, the sound don't sound as big. Put that 400 years ago on it, right? That way, then somebody, again, who may not know, me younger, and see 400 years and realize that that's been a long time. This been a long time, right? But if you make it 4 centuries, even though century is meaning 100, but 4 in centuries don't seem as long to somebody who don't really understand that, right? So we're still trying to find a way to lessen the fact of how long this has been going on and have not really dealt with it, remedy, but we're just going to make some kind of, commemorative and say some words that are colorful, but again, like an empty suit, right? And so they talk about, as he said, the August of 1619 was the first enslaved in the English colonies. Now, again, he goes on, he admits to the fact that this is the beginning of a barbaric trade of human lives. Now, again, if white people understand that there's always been something wrong with this, and use the term barbaric trade of human lives, right? Then you are saying that how horrendous, how terrible, how tragic this is and has been, right? But again, if I say 400 years, now I get to only put it back at that particular time, having no relevancy today as to, like, again, what you see again is the show that you might have seen the other day about white folks going into a, tour of plantations and then having, feeling some kind of way because the people who are the tour guides, who this is not just a story to them, this is the life and blood that they carry as a continuation of what had transpired from the 400 years and even further. Some say 1553, right? But that would be under somebody else, right? And so they say today in honor, we remember every sacred soul, right? Well, that's who we are. You're acknowledging every sacred soul of the 400 years of all that had endured and took place, right? The suffer, the horror of slavery, the anguish of bondage, right? These are the words that the president just used. And so if you're saying that the horror, the suffer, the anguish of bondage, and you're recognizing every sacred soul of the 400 years, is that not also including we today? Now, again, people will try to take a couple apples and put it in front of the horse and say, look, there's Oprah, there's Jordan, there's Ben Johnson, there's this, right? But we're talking about the entirety. And again, understanding how policies, right, have been structured to give I won't even say a glass ceiling. I just say you just been primarily in a box. And again, according to what kind of challenge that could be useful to whoever need it, then you might get some opportunity to get out of the box and then get closer to a glass ceiling and think that you have opportunities to actually get to places that your ass can only see, but you can't really obtain. Now, it depends on, how deep and how far away you want to get from who you really are. So he goes on and says that more than 150 years ago, at America's founding, our declaration. Now, wait a minute. Hold on. That's not correct. Right? Well, 1789, I think is what or 1776 is the Independent Declaration of Independence and so forth. But it ain't just 1789 that this actually becomes what we call today United States, right? I think it's 1789. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. Right? And so, you use this poetic prose document of Declaration of Independence to recognize the immortal truth that all men are created equal. And they applaud it, right? We applaud in that. Now, again, the words at the time that was written did not include people of BADOS and ADOS. Let's be honest about that. Now, some people will say, well, there were black slave owners. You understand? Yeah, you go all the way back to the Crusades. They'll show you Maurice, right? Sitting there, right? You see Maurice. Dapper dandy looking, right? And then, you know what I'm saying? Oh, how else you think they was going to be able to do what they did to be infiltrating and getting in? Somebody had to be, blacks had to be on their side, right? So that ain't nothing new, right? So to say that all men are created equal was just the words of the time, because only people that they were considering is all the different varieties of white people coming from Europe, because this is what they're talking about, the melting pot. You know how today has evolved and they talking about everybody here today? This is why white folks be angry, because they know what they originally talking about. Like, wait a minute. When their ancestor was writing this, where the hell was you at? I had you subjugated. You are not even human. You are my property. So how is it that you're talking about what my ancestor was talking about? They had no kind of acknowledgement that you even existed. But you evolve today and try to make us, and this is what angers a lot of them, but they don't want to say it, because again, the words say what they were. The words say what they say, but do the words mean what they say? Is what you got there. I'm going to say that again. The words say what they say, but do the words mean what they say? Well, that's just again to show the creator and how the creator said, see, I'm going to make the own word you tripping fall on your own words. And when you wrote that originally, you were talking about, again, all the whites. Again, you had all different whites coming from all different parts, Irish and Polish and Russian and English and, you understand, French and all the different ones were coming here. First time, because again, you got to remember, they segregating themselves off, being, branded by the names that they calling themselves. Now, when they came here, they were all white men of different statures and plights and all that other stuff. They were talking about all they men were created equal, trying to get along with each other, right? Even though there was pyramids of different, hierarchies of different, you got what they call them, the dark whites, right? Then you're gonna have your Englishmen, Scott, and all, right? These are all different scales, and white folks know this, right? You say white is white. No, they know the difference between, again, something is different about the bloodline, of who they coming from, and it's a hierarchy in that, right? And so when they were talking about all men created equal, they had not you in mind when they were talking about that. And matter of fact, even though those who was talking about black folks was selling black folks and all that stuff, and they were black people here, but look what happened to Anthony Johnson when he got so big, they even flipped the law on him and end up taking all his shit from him, right? So he wasn't created equal. Not till he got to the point that he had too much. It was like, no, that don't apply to you, right? So he goes on and says that, again, that it would take ultimately a civil war. Now, people use the Civil War to try to say that Civil War was based on slavery. That is a lie. I'm going to say that again. Civil War was not about fighting for the slaves. What it was is the expansion of the South, because they was now getting the territory that was migrating west. Remember, you got to remember, they go west, young man, right? Right? You got to remember, look where the 13 colonies are, and look how it's going to expand going west. So now what's happening is those in the South were seeing opportunities to expand their business. Now, they going west. Look at all the territory they were going to be getting. Now, you got to remember, the North, according to what they write in history, are trying to emulate their mother country. They're trying to be like the Industrial Revolution. They're trying to, come into manufacturing. Now, you got the South is agriculture. They're producing the cotton, right? And other agricultural products as well, right? But the way that was set up, those in the South were only doing business with those in the mother country. See? They was having allegiance to the mother country. Now, what people are not talking about is there's something going on here. There's really a usurpation going on here. Because you got to ask yourself, how is Britain and France is coming to fight this place that you call in the United States? Well, who is them? And what country is this? If you're founding it, well, you didn't exist before then. So who is these people that is setting up a place that is different from some France, Britain, you understand? Russia, they already set up. Who is this new one coming? Oh, it's maybe, again, you know how you talk about capitalism and corporations and merchants? Maybe they banded together. Do your history, you'll find out, right? And that's what that is. Maybe they came together, right? Use the Magna Carta, right? So that means that now, again, as much as, you know what I'm saying, they want to prosecute you, but you can't take you over there to prosecute you here. And then the same way when black folks go to court, and it be all white folks and you there, and it's against that one there, and there, regardless to where it used to be, he could be guilty as hell and get out. Well, that's the same way it went all the way back then when so they couldn't prosecute them. So they was able to usurp it. And also there was some help by France in the background because they was losing it. Because again, you got to remember, monarchs was dying, which was changing the whole who was in position, because again, you got to ask yourself, how did England or Britain get in the game so late in the slave game? Because originally it was Portugal and Spain, right? That's why black folks was already here before the 1607, right? But they don't talk about that part in history. They don't never talk about that, right? They was already here. So again, look at the time frame and look at all that's taking place. You got to ask yourself who was there, because you got Spanish conquistadors. The Floridas was not just Florida, what you see. Florida had an east, north, south, and west. That's how, much territory it was. Russia was even in the parts from Alaska down all the way down through Washington, Oregon, and really right before you get up, I guess you say with California or was that Sacramento? In that area, Russia was already in here too. France already up in here too, right? Spain up in here too, right? So who's these 13 colonies? They was who originally was setting up with, they say King James, but then somehow that gets taken and somebody else is running it, right? Somebody else is running this. This is why they talking about this. So this civil war was amongst them. This was free, open, new territory that they done got a new. Just imagine that, you being some of the founding people, then some of the land y'all got, you could just build to your eyes can't see no more. And so if you let the South do it, this whole thing would have been, you know what I'm saying? This whole thing would have been subjugated under the agriculture and slavery. It's not like it wasn't happening in the North. They be lying with that when they say that. How else they built within them rules and how'd you get all that stuff? You ain't doing that. We know you ain't doing. You ain't built for that. We know that. So the Civil War was not about freeing you, black people. It was used as the ploy, right? Because really it was brothers fighting brothers. Really, that's what the Civil War was about, right? The white man was fighting white man. But it was not about you. That's what they tell you again to make themselves look. But that's not really what it was. So Civil War had nothing to do with it. That's just to create a hand, had to find a way to, again, make a way out of way. No way. You understand? Made a way out of no way. You couldn't see that part of it. And so he goes on and he says that it took another 85 years after the document was signed. Now, again, the document he's talking about emancipation, right? Now, when you go to laws, the Black Laws Dictionary, now the word emancipation in law says the act by which one who was unfree or under the power and control of another is rendered free or set at liberty and made his own master. A surrender and renunciation of the correlative rights and duties touching the care, custody, and earning of a child. Keep that in mind. The term is principally used with reference to the emancipation of a minor child by his parents, which involves an entire surrender of the rights to the care, custody, and earnings of such child, as well as a renunciation of parental duties. Okay? So emancipation has something to do with a child relinquishing the rights of the parent. Why you think they call you minority? Minority don't mean just because, yes, minority also means a smaller, right? A smaller group, but in law, child. So you was relinquished as a child. Why you say, boy? Come here, boy. Huh? A child. Right? So when you say Emancipation Proclamation is an executive proclamation issued January 1st, 1863 by Abraham Lincoln declaring that all persons held in slavery in certain designated states. Now, designated state. It didn't free all of them. You understand? See, that's the game right there. It did not free everybody. Only in the rebel states. and districts were and should remain free. Washington, D.C. also was emancipated. Those in Washington was also emancipated. But if you didn't come out of them rebel states, your people ain't out of them rebel states. See, what game is really being played here, right? So, emancipation was a document. It's just an announcement. It's not a law, right? So have they really dealt with this? Then you got Jim Crow. Then you got Reconstruction, right? And so, now again, you heard Donald Trump say the document that was signed was to abolish the evil of slavery. Now you are recognizing that slavery is evil, right? It is evil. Yet you know that how evil it is and how long it prolonged, that even after the document, right, that was signed. Then you got Reconstruction. Look what happened after Reconstruction, right? Emancipate somebody, letting them go, they got nothing. 14 years. Then you come with Jim Crow laws. And even all up until that point there, you get all the way up to Martin Luther King time, and then you want to quote Martin Luther King, right? That to live out the true meaning of the creed and extend the blessing of freedom to all Americans. This is Martin Luther King in 1960s saying this. That at this point in time, 50 years, okay, let's say from the time he been gone, 51 years, Martin Luther King was saying, live up to the true creed and meanings of what the words that you said back when you talking about the independence. When you gonna live up to it, right? When you gonna live up to that? And that was 100 years. Think about that. If they say emancipation, because we're gonna say you got an announcement January 1st, 1863. But again, we could go all the way to Texas, that Texas don't even get done to 1865, right? But I also done did a story for those who know that slavery was for a lot of people still up until 1965. There are people who still didn't even know, right? But so we want to just look back at the beginning. We're not going to see the history and still how it was still lingering and all its effects even to this day, 2019. Right? And so to say that now here's Martin Luther King saying his head, and then finally in 65, 64, they now allowed the vote. Now somebody said, well, they was able to vote back in 18. Yeah, right. You seen what happened. You know what's going on. So here's black folks, black Americans who've been in this country, been only voting for 14 elections. Going on 14 elections, presidential elections. Huh? People be talking about how black people don't know politics. Getting on, they fall for just being Democrats. Compared to somebody who's been in the game as long as they've been in the game, you expect these people, when again, you don't teach civics. Again, you get to learn about Constitution coming out of 8th grade to get into high school, and you got to carry what you learned. If you don't continue your education politically, you don't learn no more than you got to rely on you when you was 13 years old on the information that you got. That's what you got to do as a grown person, right? And so here's people who don't look at what done happened and look at today, and then look at when they talk about Baltimore and rat infested and all this denial is like, y'all can do what you want. You can say what you want. You can say, well, he's just talking. But the truth of the matter is, if whatever you so believe in that you have to be accountable for what your actions are, You confront in front of us, because I got a video that I'm going to do today that's going to show you this in real time, right? But they can say what they want to say, right? You do the commemoration anniversary, and we're gonna remember all that is, but you have not done what you need to do, and you're not planning on doing it. So then what is really the real true intent of who you are in the embodiment and who you're supposed to be? Can't you say soul and spirit? I can't say that with you. I can't say that, right? And so he goes on and says, now you heard Donald Trump say in that video, in the face of grave oppression, grave injustices, African Americans have built, strengthened, inspired, uplifted, protected, defended, and sustained our nation from its earliest days. I'ma say that again. This is your president, Donald Trump, saying these words verbatimly. In the face of grave oppression, grave injustices, African Americans, ADOS, have built, strengthened, inspired, uplifted, protected, defended, and sustained our nation from its most earliest days. So, when they always want to talk about we need to go back to Africa, shiftless and lazy, we unpatriotic because certain people will sit down and kneel to protest. Those words you just heard told you, as much as you think you are the core fabric of this nation, we just as much, if not more, than those who don't want to recognize and acknowledge that. Right? But you know it's grave injustice, grave, deadly oppression, deadly injustices. And yet, on the table of this 2020 campaign that's being talked about, reparations is on the table. And when they polled originally the old one in 90, then they did a new one, and the new one didn't change no percentage in it. So yeah, I'm not racist. I don't hate it. I love everybody. And then the other kickstand is my people didn't have any own any slaves, and I'm not, and we did, and we came from Ellis Island. Again, everybody wants to say they're getting the benefits and whatever privileges that you get as being who you are. But when it comes, it's like going to a restaurant, we all sitting down to eat. We all sitting here eating. You eat more than I'm eating. And then they're going to come with the bill. Somehow y'all don't find a way to walk out the damn restaurant and left me sitting there to pay the rest of the whole damn bill for you as well too. But you act like you ain't eating. You weren't in here drinking. You weren't sitting down in here and enjoying the ambiance and listening to whatever music that was playing or whatever entertainment that was there. But you won't leave it all on me and act as if like there ain't no guilt. This is where the fragility of mind is coming from. Because you know in the heart of what that is of you, what it is. So, it goes on and says that he remembered when he was privileged to sign and establish a commission to study and commemorate the arrival of the first Africans to arrive, to the history that had followed of the 400 years. See? This is all fluff talk. This is paper tiger, right? We're going to do something that's going to talk about the history and, to commemorate that. But what it said in the Mac, he said, remember when Pretty Tony was sitting there getting his hair cut? He said, I keep him pretty, clothes, hair, and all that, but no dough, huh? He said, I keep him hair, cut, fine, clothes, and all that, but no dough. See? That's what that is right there. That's some pimp shit. They do all this other shit. Man, you ain't getting no money. Huh? You're not getting no money. And so that's what this is about, right? Ain't no need to talk about the 400 years. Commemorate what? Talk about what? Having plantations that had tourism about what? The people that is that of the history that you talk about are still walking prevalent right before your eyes. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You love the greatness that they display when you're watching your entertainment, being some basketball, football, singing, dancing, being comedic, and all. You love all that. But the repairment, no. Because why? Something in you can't see that happening. Because then it makes something in you feel like you're not as good anymore. Well, you know, I just wanted to bring that because, again, it went by 2 weeks. I see nobody touched it. But you know how I do. I got to touch it again. This is Black Minds News. And that's what we do over here. Again, we don't make nobody feel no kind of way. But again, this is what it is. This is the facts. This is the truth. This is the time and era we in. Where everybody got to act as if like we got to act like, you know, this is not what it is. We said 400 years. Huh? You know the last time you probably read something that talked about 400 years? Well, we'll talk about that first. I'm going to do this first and then we come back. I'll talk about that 400 years. Check this out. All right, so I got some stuff going on over here. I don't know what's going on with this, though. All right, so it's not going to do it the way I want it to. All right, so, again, the last time you might have heard something about some 400 years was in a book called the Bible. Talked about a people who did 400 years of being in servitude. Yeah, man, Moses went before and was like, let my people go. But the Pharaoh had a hardened heart, right? And ended up happening is had to go through some things to be able to see that the hand and the spirit was upon these people that was telling them it's time to let them go. It's time to release them of this bondage that you put upon them. But your heart is hard. You can't see that. You don't want to deal with that. You want to deal the way you want to deal with it. Well, I don't know what's going on with this here. Somehow they're locking that up, huh? Let me see if I can remove this. Let's see if I can get it to open because it's not doing it. And I don't want that music in the background. Okay, let's see if I can do it. All right, let's see. That's right. That's how we pump it in the house. Y'all can hear that. No, they don't ban me for that. That's my boy in there. All right, let's see if I can get it to play. Again, I want to appreciate everybody that came here, right? And do what you do. So I said, let my people go. The plagues kept coming. And guess what? It started attacking till it started reaching you personally, killing your own. Oh, that ain't gonna be us doing it. Just remember the story that was once upon a time written in a book that says somehow it's correlated to today. You're talking about 400 years. Then you're talking about a time where you are getting lesser in numbers. Well, if it's 400 years now, and they say the time is 2050, that's about what? 31 years? So that'll be exactly 431, almost 432 years. And when you read that, it says 430 years. Oh, y'all gonna keep playing with it. The handwriting is on the wall, but you can't see it. Belshazzar couldn't see it either. He seen the hand and could not interpret it. Needed somebody to run, and it said many, many parcel and tinkle. Let me say that again. Many, many parcel and tinkle. No need to talk about what already took place. It's time to repair that which is today. Well, need not say no more. This is Black Minds News, bringing you another Black Report. Again. I know, right? Again, right? I gotta say it anyway, brother. Want to thank you for your participation. Remember, when you see one another, greet one another with "What's good, brother? What's good, sister?" Give that universal nod. Take all that damn hate and jealousy and envy and spite, and understand we is all we got. Understand, those with the uniform of the team you're on, yes, allies are important. Are yours willing to be in the frying pan once the shit gets hot? Ask them, is John Brown a story or is it real to them? Know that the time is dawning upon those who seek our demise. So you must stay vigilant, mindful, cautious, and in high spirit. Until the next show, y'all. Peace, love,